Hey,
Yeah,
Vic,
man.
you got questions?
Yeah. So tell me what is it about Marcus Garvey that inspired you to want to write and play and necessarily be him on film?
Yeah. Well, there's two answers to that. The first part is what was it about Marcus Garvey that made me want to write the film? During that time, we were going through a lot of crazy social conflicts in the United States. You know, we had George Floyd, the passing of George Floyd. We had the passing of Aubrey, Sandra Bland. Not too before that, we had Breonna Taylor. We had Tamir Rice. We had very early on in that we had Trayvon Martin. The list goes on. You know, we had all these losses of Black people. And more specifically, I think we were going through COVID during that time as well. So people were already on edge. And so within that George Floyd passing, you know, I was out in the streets. I was taking the streets. I was here in Atlanta. I can't say too much because I don't know if they're going to come back and try to charge me for things. But I was out there protesting. You know what I mean? I was getting it in. I was angry. Um, I was confused. I was mad. I couldn't believe that, you know, the whole world got to witness the death of George Floyd like that. And we were supposed to just accept it and swallow it. So I was very angry. And so I was protesting heavily, man. And even the stuff that I was seeing while protesting, like I'm seeing the tear gas, and I'm seeing it felt like a war. We was in a literal civil war, and all we was trying to do was stand up for something that was unjust, you know, stand up against something that was unjust. And so I just remember coming home every night after protesting, bro, and feeling unfulfilled. I'm just like feeling like it wasn't enough. My voice was hoarse, my body exhausted. I've been tear gassed, all this stuff, and still I just didn't feel fulfilled. At the same time, my mom is concerned; she's worried about my life. So it was just a lot. And so I had to really go back to the table and re-strategize on how I could be more effective and serve a bigger voice within the chaos that was happening. And so just going back to my knowledge of Marcus Garvey and me just being a filmmaker, and I was just coming off of Lotus, so I understood how impactful my work could be from Lotus. And so I said, man, it's time for Marcus Garvey. You know, it's the time. So I need to write this. And because the people need to know. And I think we were doing different boycotts, like, hey, let's keep the Black money to ourselves. Let's do this. But they just wasn't successful, and because there was no I say no huge strategy around it. And so I just knew like introducing Marcus Garvey and his ideas and his philosophies would make a lot of more sense to what we were already out there doing, but also give us a clear blueprint on what we needed to do. And so that's why. The other question, I think you said, why play him?
Yeah.
Why play him? Nobody else was going to do it. I wasn't going to allow anyone else to do it. It was going to be me. I had too much training by that point. I had just graduated with my master's degree in acting. Honestly, everything that I did acting-wise up until the point that I did Marcus Garvey had been centered around playing Black activists. I played Martin Luther King countless times in plays, different performances. I played John Lewis a few times. I actually got to perform for John Lewis as Martin Luther King. So a lot of my training and my experiences with the acting was already centered around pro-Black work. I had participated. I was in the film, though I was an extra. It started off with me being in the film Selma, based around Martin Luther King. Right after that, I was in Birth of a Nation by Nate Parker, centered around Nat Turner and the Rebellion. From that, I did Emperor, which is it was centered around Shields Green and his rebellion or his escape from slavery. Right after that, I did another project called MLK and X Genius. That was produced by Disney Channel. I'm sorry, Disney Plus. Disney Plus. So I was in that project where I played. I can't ever remember my guy's name, but his death sparked the "I Am a Man Too" movement in Memphis, Tennessee. Well, which was why Martin Luther King actually went to Memphis in Tennessee. And so all of my work was already centered around that. So I was just like, hey, here's the time. And then and other stuff, like I just got tired of being like the being belittled and being degraded within characters that I was playing. Like I was playing slaves, I was playing gangsters, I was playing, and so I wanted to finally play a king. And I already had done it in Shakespeare. So here it is for me to play a king for my people, you know, but man, I was compelled. I couldn't see nobody else playing Garvey. They wouldn't done it before me, at least. So yeah. So
Word.
so now, you know, but yeah, I had to play him. It wasn't gonna be no other way on that.
All right.
Any more questions, Rick?
Yep.
All right, so tell our viewers, people that's not familiar with Marcus Garvey, tell us who Marcus Garvey was and what did he stand for?
Yeah, man. When I'm asked this question, is just so much because it's a huge umbrella of who Marcus Garvey was. In short, though, he was a activist, a Pan Africanist. He's Jamaican born. He came over to the States and pushed this movement of Pan Africanism. He developed the UNIA over here, which was an organization for Black people, for Black, formed by Black. He pushed. He was the only one at that time with a mass movement to this capacity. He didn't just lead Black people in America. He was a world leader of Black people. He created different businesses for Black people. He was a huge advocate of Black enterprise. He wanted everything Black. The red, black, and green flag that we see today was created by Marcus Garvey and is a symbol of Pan-Africanism. So he was just so much, man. And I can't even make a movie on all the stuff that Marcus Garvey was, you know, but he was the biggest to do it. He was, in my opinion, the most successful to do it, just with the amount of resources that he had at that time. He used the power of publication and media. He was a genius with using media and print press. He had studied print press at a very early age. And in fact, he used this to build this mass movement so quickly. You know, so he was just a genius in his own right, and he was a master at connecting Black people, but also touching the hearts and soul of Black people. He wasn't like in comparison to like the NAACP, where a lot of their members were people of class, you know, or these were like your doctors, these were your teachers, and all that. Marcus Garvey was very gifted at touching the common man, the common man who didn't have much, but just wanted something out of life. He was able to influence these people and build off of that. So in short, that's who he was. He did a lot of great things. Unfortunately, you know, he was eradicated by the system, or his legacy was there was an attempt to eradicate his movement through the system. But Marcus Garvey, before like the slogan on the film, before Malcolm, before Martin, there was Marcus Garvey. Right. You know, and people don't know, even Malcolm X's parents were Garveyites. You know what I mean? So he was very influential, you know, very influential. And he dropped a lot of gems, and I'd say a lot of movements that you see here today comes off the work of Marcus Garvey, or from the blueprint that he left for us, you know?
Word. In the film, it shows Marcus Garvey going to visit the KKK. Why do you think he did that?
Yeah, he visited the KKK because at that time there was a lot of turmoil between the Klan and also the African Legions, which is a branch under the UNIA associated with Marcus Garvey, of course. There were a lot of kidnappings at the time. The Klan was kidnapping not just Black people, random Black people in the South and in the North. They were kidnapping UNIA presidents as well. So for a sense of trying to create some resolve in that, that was part of why Marcus Garvey met with the Klan. The biggest reason why Marcus Garvey met with the Klan, because he felt like they had common interests. You know what I mean? For one, you got to know your enemy. You got to know your enemy, you know, to some capacity. But also, they didn't want Black people in America no more than Marcus Garvey wanted Black people in America. So they had a common interest, a common goal. How can we work to make this both happen for us? He saw them. They was white supremacists, far left, and Marcus Garvey was Black supremacist. And so that's what that was about. But also, this is just my speculation as well. I think Marcus Garvey understood the importance of leveraging relationships, and he knew that the Klan had a strong hold on the political system and also just the underground of how things worked here in society in America. And so I think that was somewhat his attempt at trying to get some leverage on that, if that makes sense.
So basically saying, like I always say, man, instead of crying about it, complaining about it, just go in and see what's going on. Talk to them.
Go ahead and see what's going on. Talk to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see what's going on. You know, we, like I said, like that. I mean, that makes the perfect sense to me. Y'all don't want us here, we want to be here. So how can we work together? And you know, and first most, you in the way of my movement because you say you don't want us here. I'm trying to get black people to get the fuck out of here, but you're tormenting, stopping us from making money. You killing us. You're doing all this. So I need you to step aside so we can get the fuck out of here. But you gotta, you know what I mean? Somebody has to tell you this. You know.
Hey, doing your research.
No, I'm saying that's what makes him a leader like no other, though. Nobody else was doing that. And like we know today, or we know through history that you know, that decision ultimately led to the Garvey Must Go campaign and trying to bring them down, you know, from these different black leaders at that time. But I mean, come on, man. It makes the perfect sense.
Right. And what you think about? I was going to ask a question, but since we're there, I want to ask you this: what do you think about leaders of today? What's your